Good Thursday evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. A bit of a different day weather-wise out there across northern Michigan after a couple of days of some sunshine, dry conditions, and a bit warmer weather. Starting to see a bit of a change, kind of going back to more winter-like conditions, right, Joe?
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. We've had kind of a mix, as you kind of mentioned there, of rain and snow today. The bigger concern, though, is tomorrow. We do have some counties under a winter storm warning for heavy snow. That does not mean all of us are going to see that. We have such a large area to cover. But some spots, by the end of tomorrow, Maya could see 10, 11 inches of snow on the ground.
Wow.
And others might not see much at all. So we'll talk more about that. It'll be kind of a windy day. And then it's not going to last long, but it is going to be cold Saturday. A little cool down for the weekend. So much more on that in a few minutes.
Yep, Joe will have more details coming up after our first commercial break. But let's start off with our top story tonight. So the National Park Service oversees 6 sites here in Michigan, and all are facing the same challenges as other parks across the country. The NPS is under a federal hiring freeze, and about 1,000 employees were laid off 2 weeks ago. Our Allie Baxter spoke to former park employees to understand how this could potentially impact you and your next visit to a state park.
Parks can't do what they're supposed to do for the American people.
For years, Tom Ulrich served as the deputy superintendent at Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore. He says he's concerned how the park is going to function this summer.
There's millions, hundreds of millions of people visit the national parks every year. And those people are still going to come. They're still going to be vacationers this summer. And they're going to come to a park that is not going to be prepared for them.
Tom was told guidance from Washington to NPS superintendents is changing daily. He explains that back and forth has already compromised conservation operations at Sleeping Bear, like the endangered piping plover project.
We usually have staff coming on in March because the plovers get here in April, and they will this year too. But there will not be staff there because of these moves by the administration. So the plovers are going to be unprotected from dogs, predators, human activity. And I don't see how we can get people on in time to do the work necessary to save the plovers or the other resources that are sort of behind the scenes.
Julia Gehrig was one of those employees working behind the scenes at several parks.
It's the golden standard of natural resource management.
She's a revegetation specialist. Put simply, for every construction project within a park, someone has to make sure the disturbance isn't destroying the resources the park is trying to conserve.
It's either salvaging plants, seed collection, purchasing seeds, seeding roadsides, and then also the erosion control. So anytime you see a construction project with those mats down or hydro-seeding mulch, that's the type of work that I was doing.
On the morning of Valentine's Day, when Julia was fired, she was working on 26 projects at 20 parks across the country, including Sleeping Bear, Pictured Rocks, and
the reforestation project in California at Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park, where their general highway has been impacted by the K&P fire complex. And I was in the process of putting out a contract for 23,000 trees to be planted to limit landslides this spring.
Julia wasn't fired by her supervisor or the Park Service. She got this letter from the U.S. Department of Interior saying she failed to demonstrate fitness or qualifications for continued employment.
We can only be terminated due to performance or misconduct. And the document that somebody from OPM or Department of Interior sent me was fraudulent. I'm okay that people might disagree with my interpretation of the value of the work that I do, but I don't think that we should be up for interpretation of our entire legal system.
Julia says at this point she's exploring different options for employment, but she has appealed her termination because she values her work at the park.
I think that if people who have integrity leave, we're opening the door to people who don't.
In Leelanau County, Allie Baxter.
And I don't want to open that door willingly.
UpNorthLive News.
And Tom also explained to Allie that if Sleeping Bear Dunes doesn't have the staff that it needs this summer, that you could see some different closures throughout the park. For example, the visitor centers, historic buildings in Glen Haven, and even toilets at the beaches. Now, this is a concern and a topic that we brought up with Congressman John Molinar this week in a one-on-one interview. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Our lakeshore, our Sleeping Bear Dunes are national treasures, and we want to make sure they're protected. But we've got to do it within a budget And that's where we need to set the right priorities. And to me, that would be a very big priority.
And you can watch our entire conversation with Congressman Molinar tomorrow right here on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. All right, let's turn things over to our question of the day, which is related to Allie's story. So do you think the federal cuts of the National Park Service go too far? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. Looks like right now we have 244 votes, quite a few comments on our Facebook page as well, about 60 comments. So we'll keep an eye on those live results and comments and read them towards the end of the show. Well, we are continuing to follow the 2026 gubernatorial election here in Michigan. And although Election Day itself is more than a week away, the field of candidates already getting pretty crowded. So far, we've heard from two of those declared candidates here on our Unscripted show. We heard from State Senator Eric Nesbitt and Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Well, today we are joined by Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, who recently launched a bid to be our state's next governor. Sheriff Swanson, thanks so much for joining us here on Unscripted.
Thank you very much.
So you're a pretty high-profile guy, especially in Genesee County downstate, but some folks here in northern Michigan may not be as familiar with you. So can you just tell us a little bit about who you are?
Well, thanks to you, I just Googled, and you have done 8 stories of what I've been able to do in Traverse City, working with the sheriffs that you have. So I have a huge connection with Traverse City. Both my grandparents are buried up there. I used to own property right there at the resort. So Traverse City is my second home.
So tell us a little bit about your background. When did you get involved with law enforcement?
So I started as a young man at 20 years old. I'm on my 32nd year. I've been a paramedic since I was 20 years old and working in law enforcement and going from the ranks of deputy to sheriff. Also working at the University of Michigan as a faculty member here at Flint. You know, public service has been my life. I love taking care of people, but I do it in crisis. And when you have somebody whose life is dependent on your ability, that's ultimate leadership. And that's what I've grown up on, and that's what I love to do.
So was there a specific moment that it really hit you that, you know what, I think I want to run to be our state's next governor?
You know, I knew when I was 18, I was going to be the sheriff. Wow. And I have a long vision. And so I knew even coming through the ranks of sheriff, especially when I became the sheriff in 2019, and I saw that there's a pathway, there's an opening in 2026. And as things kind of work out and those opportunities open up, I knew long ago, over 5 years ago, that that moment will come, and I want to show results, not just talk about what I'm going to do, but point to people what I'm able to do. You want me to protect your children? We're going to do human trafficking operations. Reduce crime? We're going to do that across the state like we've done it in Genesee County. All those things, they matter to people.
So going after that, what are some of your biggest priorities?
Protect, serve, and unify. And I can tell you, everything falls under that. Protect your families, protect your rights, protect the things that mean the most to you, economy, small business, your labor rights, but also servant leadership, making sure that you're out there on the front line serving people. I work with Sheriff Shea all the time. I've known him for years. We're going to establish a sheriff service network. So between the governor's office and the sheriffs in every county in the state of Michigan, there's going to be a direct connect that if that sheriff has a problem or a need in their community, they can pick up the phone and call the governor's office, and we're going to find out what that answer is. Most people just don't have accessibility to where they can get those answers. We're going to fix that. And then finally, to unify, to bring people together, not to be confused with uniformity. We love to find common ground, and you need leadership to kind of sift through what can work, and that's what people are hungry for. I myself am exhausted with the hate and the nastiness and the going back and forth. A unifier brings that peace and that calm, and that's leadership.
And how do you think your experience in law enforcement could benefit you in this role as governor?
I think it's a great experience, and it shows that you need somebody who's, number one, not afraid. Number two is also has worked under crisis. And whether it's man-made or natural, I think when you look at 10 million people, they need a governor that no matter what is going to be right there and not back down. Whether it's something like you just mentioned on your previous show, an attack on parks and bathrooms that people can't use, you need to have somebody that's going to push back and also learn how to work with people. But I think being a sheriff, you know, they're one of the most trusted elected officials in any county in the country. And you look at your sheriffs that are around your neighborhood, they are people that understand the folks on the ground. They understand how to get things done. I think being a sheriff is a great qualification. And I'm a fighter, and I know Michigan's a fighter with me.
And as I mentioned, the election is more than a year away, but we already have 5 candidates who have declared to be our next governor. What sets you apart from these other potential candidates?
Well, one thing is I don't call them opponents; I call them options. And what I bring is something unique, and that is I don't come through the system of Lansing. I come from the system of the streets and in law enforcement, as well as the education background, having a business background of opening businesses. The fact that I can relate to people, I'm always this excited about life. Even in tragedy, I can find some type of good, some hope to give people. That's what sets me apart is there's no surprise in what I'm going to be like as a governor because I've been this way as a sheriff and I've been this way as a public servant for 32 years. I bring a new energy. That's why I called it my announcement. Pure energy is coming to Lansing.
Can definitely feel your energy just through this screen. You mentioned you have done some work here in Traverse City, and that is through the GHOST program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I'm so thankful for the sheriffs, your current and your former sheriff. I knew back in 2018 that Michigan, as well as Genesee County, has an epidemic of human trafficking. Predators are out there searching and finding your kids in order to hurt them. So I partnered building out GHOST, Genesee Human Oppression Strike Team, with other sheriffs, because I know a lot of my people go up to Traverse City like I have. And if you don't have somebody that's proactively looking for predators, then they're going to hurt and harm our kids. So I partnered with the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office more than 3 years ago. We've done multiple operations up there. And with that, we've identified individuals that have come after your kids locally. We're going to do that statewide. And we're going to make sure that predators know that if you come into Michigan, you're going to meet somebody that's going to be at the front door, and it won't be a victim. It'll be law enforcement.
And from the stories that we have ran, we know how important this initiative is. Let's say you do become elected as our next governor. What would happen to this program?
Well, again, it's statewide. We've got 83 sheriffs that I've worked with 64 of 83 with GHOST already. It's a very simple algorithm. A lot of sheriffs, they may not have the assets, and some of them have different assets, but we're going to be partners. A governor is the chief executive, but also commander-in-chief of the Michigan State Police. And with the fact that I'm a sheriff, working with the state police, local law enforcement, Traverse City PD, all those together, I can bring them together as a cooperation to say we together are going to help people and keep them from being attacked and victimized through social media apps. So it'll be a statewide, first in the country, human trafficking platform. I promise you.
It's not going anywhere.
That's right.
And again, election's still pretty far away, but of course you launched your bid early enough so you can get your name out there and make people aware of what you stand for and what you would do as governor. Why should folks here in northern Michigan vote for you come next November 2026?
You can trust me. You can believe in me. And I've said many times, be careful what you listen to. Watch what people do. You can Google, you can search. I've made it very, very clear throughout my whole career that I'm going to show you by my actions what I'm capable of. And I think people are looking for something new, whether it's a person more than a party, a policy over party, and that's what I stand for. They can be excited once again. And I can tell you one more thing is I want to encourage the next generation of political leadership. I've seen it, you've seen it. Politics has been more divisive now than it's ever been since the 1960s. We can bring that back. And so if you're looking for executive leadership, somebody who's got results, somebody who's optimistic, who's going to be there on the front line, who's going to help build coalitions, then Chris Swanson is your guy.
All right, Sheriff Swanson, thanks so much for taking some time to talk with us here on Unscripted. We really appreciate it. And we do need to take a quick commercial break now, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. And Joe will have much more on your forecast for Friday. As he mentioned, some areas could expect to see a whole lot of snow, others really none at all. He'll have all the details in just a couple of minutes.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's turn things over to Joe, who mentioned tomorrow's going to be a pretty interesting day weather-wise. Some of us could see a lot of snow, others not at all.
Yeah, it really is, because here's the thing. We have a storm system coming in out of Canada, but some parts, we're talking the UP essentially, of our viewing area are going to stay cold and it's going to snow all day, while others are going to be in the 40s and maybe see a little sun or rain. Because that's the thing, we have the temperature difference too. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's why I went to college. Fun. Let's take a look. This was earlier today. Clearwater Township in Kalkaska County. UpNorthLive Skyview drone out there in the distance, like Skigamog. And even with all the melting the last couple of days, look at the snow on the ground. Again, this is Clearwater Township in Kalkaska County. That's Highway M72 right there. Looking over toward Traverse City, there's Lake Skigamog. Earlier today. All right, let's take a look at our watches and warnings that we have. And there they are. And in the pink shaded areas, that's our winter storm warnings, purple winter weather advisories. But the heaviest snow is expected to fall here. Parts of Luce, Chippewa, also western, or parts of Chippewa rather, and Mackinac counties. And then a little further south of there, we have winter weather advisories for western Mackinac, Emmett, Sheboygan, and also Presqu'île counties. That kicks in late tonight through tomorrow into early Saturday. You could see 2 to 6 inches of snowfall here. Now, in the current time frame, we do have some rain and snow working through here. At times today, we've had some pockets of heavier snow, but it's really melted. It hasn't really accumulated a whole lot. That system is moving out. But way up here, Edmonton, way up that way. That's our next area of low pressure that's going to drop south toward northern Michigan. And here's what this is going to look like in terms of the rain and snow arriving. We'll see this ending. And then here we are tomorrow morning. All right, 6:15. You see that darker purple from Charlevoix north into the UP. That's heavy snow to kick off the day tomorrow. And if you look up in the UP, it's going to snow all day for the most part. Now, in the lower peninsula, see how the snow comes to an end? So if you're in Cadillac, maybe a little afternoon sun poking through tomorrow. That's the thing with this system. Some of you are going to get a lot of snow. Some of you are not going to get much at all. And then even some rain may mix in while it continues to snow across the UP. By the way, look at the wind. See the wind field there? Oh, it's coming out of the west around Traverse City, Cadillac. And then in the UP, it's coming out of the east. That's because our low is going to sit right over the Straits area. And then everybody will see some colder air working in, some snow then Friday night, and then some lake effect snow. And I do think near Lake Michigan and parts of the UP, we could still see some snow on Saturday right there. So here's our thoughts on how much. Not a lot tonight, an inch or two near Newberry by daybreak. But then there's the snow adding up. And, we'll stop the clock here about 9:30 tomorrow night. 8 to 12 inches across the UP. Maybe 5 around Sheboygan, and then it drops off. South of Bel Air, hardly anything expected. So again, it's our northern areas that will see the bulk of the snow. And then this is lake effect snow right here, adding up near the lakeshore in some spots, and also around Newberry. So when all is said and done, that's what we're looking at. I'm going to run through the wind real quick just to show you. The wind will pick up, gusty winds, turning around, buckling around as our low passes by. And then we'll see kind of a breezy, chilly day on Saturday. It is going to be cold over the weekend too. Look at Saturday, 15 to 20, well below normal. Sunday, 20s, and then we rebound back into the 30s by Monday. And that's what we're looking at, Maya. So up north, some heavier snow tomorrow.
Time to pull out the big parkas again.
Once again, yeah, for sure.
And the shovels. Fun stuff. All right, thanks so much, Joe. Let's take another quick break, but we will be right back with Sports Director Harrison Beebe. Stay with us. Well, it's been a couple of days since Harrison has been able to join us live, but today he made some time for us and is live now from our content center. Harrison, welcome back to Unscripted Live Edition.
Yeah, hey Maya. Sorry, I've been kind of busy this whole week covering boys basketball district playoffs. So on my one night off, I decided to talk about boys basketball district playoffs.
Why not, right?
And even beyond the district finals, which take place tomorrow night, wanted to feature some of the teams that could be making huge runs in multiple divisions over the next 2 weeks. But let's start with, in a pre-taped segment, what I feel is going to be the big game tomorrow night. My favorite district final, though, Traverse City Christian going for their first district championship in school history. And on paper, they should be the biggest favorite of any district competitor. But James, what is up with Leland upsetting who they beat? Frankfurt.
They beat Frankfurt in the first
Lake
round.
Leelanau
And then
St.
Lake Leelanau.
Mary. This is a 4-win team, and the Comets have now pulled 2 huge upsets. Now, could they make it 3 and ruin the Sabres party on Friday?
Yeah, they doubled their win total in the playoffs. Came into the playoffs with 2 wins. Now they have 4 after getting those 2 upsets. I mean, they are the Cinderella.
Staying in Division 4, that regional is going to get pretty interesting. Bel Air, Oneka's a strong team. Marion's a strong team. We got a lot of really competitive boys basketball teams.
Yeah, Bel Air, I think, is one of those teams for sure. They've had a nice run. They've got all the pieces that you want. Another school that you don't hear anybody talk about because of the conference they come from is Harbor Light. Maybe coming from a different part of the bracket, but yeah, I mean, they're 17-4.
They'd have to face Pickford. I know Pickford's got a really good team with the Swordsmen of Harbor Light Christian. Now, Maya, that was us breaking down the Division 4 playoff teams. We got a lot of good teams in Division 3, and we might have a good rematch coming up in Division 1 down the road if the district finals go a certain way. So a lot of intriguing storylines. We focus more on those games tonight during Sports at 11 if you want to stay up late and check out that preview. But yeah, playoff time is here, and what a time to see who's going to make that run to the Breslin Center in a few weeks.
A lot of very impressive teams, very exciting matchups. So looking forward to seeing your full report tonight at 11, Harrison. Thanks so much for joining us live. Great to have you back on the show live. All right, let's take a quick break. But coming up next, we will take a look at the live results for our question of the day and see some of your comments. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Let's take a look at the live results for our question of the day. Do you think the federal cuts of the National Park Service go too far? As you can see, 64% of voters say yes, 36% say no. If you haven't voted yet, scan the QR code on your screen right now and you can still vote. Looking at our Facebook comments, I wish I could show you what I'm seeing. I'm not kidding you. Everyone is just saying yes. I was trying to find some comments of people explaining why they voted yes or no. I'm just seeing a whole lot of yeses, but you can read all the comments right now on the UpNorthLive Facebook page because we are out of time here on Unscripted. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight. Take care.